What up, Dolphins fans? We have finished our first game of the preseason, ending in a 24-24 tie with the Chicago Bears. Not too bad. Hey, what's up, Abel? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Bear with me here. I'm sorry I'm running a little late, a little behind, and trying to get some of my stuff pulled up here. I watched the game, and like I said in my last video, I said that I would be disappointed if the same thing we saw in the preseason group practice with the Bears was the same thing we saw in the preseason game, and that's not what happened. We saw some different things, and we saw a little bit better play. There are some similarities and some things that I didn't like, and we'll talk about that along with the good stuff and individual player performances, and we'll get into all that here in a second. But hey, what's up, Jorge? How you doing, man? Good to see you guys coming in here. Thanks for watching. We are just getting kicked off here. I'm still pulling up information and all of that. I apologize. Let's see. And here we go. Got it. So, Quinn Ewers didn't look as good as everybody was thinking that the savior of the Dolphins was going to look. I'll be honest, I was expecting that because Quinn Ewers is a rookie and a late-round draft pick, and that's the kind of stuff that you should expect. It's not a bad thing. It's not horrible. It's just to be expected. Somebody who's getting going. Lakers all day. What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. We need a QB in the draft. Let's be patient. I mean, like I said, as far as Tua goes, I'm withholding my ultimate judgment until the end of this year. But the rookie didn't look great today. However, it was his first actual game experience. I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about it. I wish we could have seen something better. Zach Wilson had his ups and downs in the game today, which is the quintessential definition of Zach Wilson, ups and downs. And it was hard to watch at some points, but we had a lot of positives too. But let's try to dig into a little bit of this. The final score was 24-24. We had 3 touchdowns and 1 field goal. The field goal was a 56-yarder by Jason Sanders, and I was happy to see that. That's a good kick, and that's what Jason Sanders does. And some people were saying we need to get rid of our kicker, and this is why I think that was not a good idea, and I'm glad we didn't. These QBs look bad. You have Sanders 2 touchdowns. Well, like I said, we have 1 preseason game of evidence right now. And while right now, if we had to make a decision off of today, I would definitely say that Ewers did not look good, and we still need a QB. I am of the opinion that we need to draft a QB from the draft every year. That's something that I've always said, and I stand by that. Skyler, I would not think too much on Skyler getting 3 touchdowns, buddy. Skyler plays well in every preseason game that he's ever played. Always. He does great in preseason even. But then Skyler does Skyler things in regular season games. So I'm a little bit leery of Skyler because, Abel, preseason Pro Bowl Skyler, he's always like this in the preseason. So I wouldn't think too much on that. It's practice. I mean, it's 1 practice. And out of all the practices, we had 1 practice where Tua didn't do good at all. And I'll admit he wasn't good in that practice, but did a little better today. And some people are going to be saying, oh, well, Tua only had a certain amount of yardage. And, well, he only played 1 possession. And also in that possession, almost every single play was short yardage routes or running plays. So it wasn't too bad. But it could have been a lot better. I'll agree with you there. Zach Wilson was not. Zach Wilson was the Zach Wilson that we always see. Jekyll and Hyde. You have good throw, bad throw, good throw, bad throw, good decision, bad decision. It's Zach Wilson, and it's hard to watch sometimes. However, I'm telling myself that this is the first preseason game. Like I said, I still want to see how this progresses as we move into the next group practice and the next preseason game against the Lions. That's the next thing that's up. I mean, the quarterback play could have been a lot better today for sure. I was not disappointed necessarily in what Tua did. I was actually surprised that he ended up playing today. I figured they were going to play him for a possession in week 2 game against the Lions, and that was probably it. And he ended up playing a possession today. You have to believe that was probably due to major lobbying by Tua, wanting to at least play a possession. And I get it. He may not have the big play bone yet. It seems like he struggles against good teams, but he does want to play. He has that desire. So it's good that he got to go out and play a possession. I'm happy about that. Special teams did very well today. I was happy with special teams. Had some big plays, big chunks, and field goal team looked good. Everything was good special teams wise, which is a shocker considering we're Miami Dolphins fans, and usually our special teams is straight up doo-doo butter. So this was nice to see some special teams positivity. It was good. But like I said, 24-24, I want to talk about a couple of things that happened in this game. Number one, let's talk about the quarterbacks. Just get it out of the way. There we go. I messed up the clickies. I think Tua is going to play one possession next week as well. I think he's going to do that both for the first 2 preseason games. I don't think he'll play in week 3, but who knows? We'll see. Zach Wilson, 5 of 9 for 96 yards. Rating of 92.8. However, man, like I said, it's night and day with him. He was sacked 4 times for 24 yards. You gotta hold the line responsible for some of that, and some of that you have to hold Zach Wilson responsible. Wasn't a particularly great outing for him, but like I said, first year in this offense, first game experience playing. I'm not going to judge too much yet. Like I said, it's something I'm going to keep my eye on. But could have been a lot worse. Quinn Ewers, 5 of 18, 91 yards, 2 sacks, a rating of 48.1. The reason that rating is so bad is obviously the completion percentage, and the man had 2 fumbles. 2 fumbles. Unreal. He's going to have to do a little better. He's going to have to grow quick. He's going to have to mature quickly. So we'll see how it ends up with him. Tua was 5 of 6 for 27 yards and a rating of 85.4. He looked sharp. The few balls that he did throw looked good. Like I said, I wasn't disappointed with Tua. Yeah, Zach Wilson held onto the ball a lot. He got that stutter step, in his drop back and just kind of stood there a lot. It was a little frustrating. Like, he needs to cut that ball loose. And on those plays where he did that, the receivers were open. There was open receivers. I saw for sure 2 times where Zach Wilson just watched 2 receivers stay open for about a second and a half, and he never put the ball there. So not sure what was going on there. Ollie Gordon had 8 carries for 33 yards. That's a 4.1 average and a touchdown. His longest was 21 yards. Ollie Gordon ran hard today. I was very impressed with Ollie Gordon. I liked what I saw. He did get stuffed 1 time behind the line of scrimmage, and I wasn't really happy with that. But 8 carries, 33 yards, 4.1 average, 1 touchdown, long of 21 yards. That's good running from him. Good experience on his first preseason game. Devon Achane, 3 carries for 22 yards, average of 7.3. That's typical Devon Achane. Jalen Wright, 9 carries, 16 yards. He got stuffed a bunch in this game, longest of 8 yards. Alexander Mattison, 3 carries for 8 yards, 1 touchdown, 2.7 yards per carry. Once again, I don't care about the 2.7 yards for Alexander Mattison. If you guys saw in that third quarter when Alexander Mattison had that ball and he was running towards the end zone, I have never seen a running back generate that much speed and power so fast and turn into a tackle so hard just to lay a lick on somebody. Alexander Mattison is a beast, and I love the fact that he loves contact. It was refreshing to see a quarterback act like that. Skylar Thompson, oh buddy, JC, man, I feel like you guys are late to the show on Skylar Thompson. Every Dolphins fan for years knows that Skylar Thompson looks like a Pro Bowler in preseason every time, every game. He looks great, has amazing stats, plays well, but once he gets into the regular season, he'll Skylar Thompson. So be excited for him, sure. I mean, I hope for success for him too. I don't ever want him to fail, but he does this every year. He looks great, and then the regular season comes around, and he turns into absolute trash. So take that for what you want. That's what happens with him. Let's see here. Yeah, Malik Washington, 1 carry for 6 yards, blah, 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 blah. Total, Dolphins had 101 yards rushing on 26 carries, average of 4 yards per carry. It is what it is. Like I said, they had a lot of different people running the ball today, and a lot of these runs were not designed necessarily for effect. They were designed to watch the players and see what they were doing. Like I said, it's about player development in preseason and situational football, not necessarily. I know it sounds weird, but it's not necessarily about the best play call every time. A lot of these plays were called specifically for them to see what players were doing. Receiving wise, we had Taj Washington with 3 catches for 53 yards, averaging 17.7 yards per. The longest catch at 34. Ollie Gordon had a catch for 40 yards. Can't expect more than that from a running back. Ollie Gordon, like I said, Ollie Gordon had his fingerprints on this game, and I was pleased to see it. Westbrook Akine had a 1 catch for 35 yards. Alexander Mattison a catch for 21. AJ Henning a catch for 18. Malik Washington had 4 catches for 18 yards. We had no passing touchdowns today, none. And like I said, part of that was just because. Oh, hang on a second. Let me look at this. The limited offense, I think, hurt him. Not hating, but I think Mike McDaniel will eventually be replaced, not by Weaver, but Slowick, who was a top head coach candidate. You got a point there about the replacement for McDaniel if he ends up getting let go. I don't necessarily think that Weaver will be as easily overlooked as a lot of people think. Weaver is massively respected. Of course, the players, like we all know, don't get to pick the next head coach, so that's one thing to think of. But the limited offense, this part of the comment, I gotta push back a little. JC, I respect you for being in here, obviously, and I appreciate you not coming in and being the quintessential jerkwad just because you're participating in a live stream for a competing team. But I do got to push back on the limited offense thing. Skylar Thompson was a part of this offense for 3 years, and he had every opportunity to learn this offense, and he was given every opportunity to execute the offense. And when he was put in for this offense to play this offense, he had pretty much the same responsibilities and plays as Tua did. He just once the game gets started, he cannot process fast enough. That's the problem with Skylar Thompson. It's a processing issue. It's not necessarily that he had a limited offense. He had the same offensive capability as Tua did, the exact same. It's just he couldn't process fast enough. Like I said, I hope that it changes for him. I wish him success. I actually liked him when he was on our team. So of course, when he left, I hope that he can continue to grow and get better. And maybe this is the beginning of that. But 3 touchdowns and a couple hundred yards, that's not anything that he's never, that's not something he's not done before. He does it all the time in preseason. So I don't think it was so much limited offense. I think it's just his processing ability. And like I said, that is something that does tend to improve with quarterbacks as they progress in their career in the NFL. So maybe this is the beginning of something different. Well, yeah, that's what exactly. It's good that we had 3 rushing touchdowns. I was happy to see a successful run game, and that was really nice. And I guarantee you that if Achane had played more than a possession of football, I think that there would have been a lot more. And Wright didn't get too many more opportunities from the beginning. And they, like I said, they were rotating players in and out. And like I said, you see 6 different players rushing the ball for Miami. It's not going to be like that in the regular season. I would expect the rushing to go up a little bit. The rushing game looked good. It looked good. I would like to see a little bit better passing game. Obviously, I don't think we're going to see that while we have Quinn Ewers and Zach Wilson playing, 90% of the game. But I think it could be a lot better even with them. They just need to get with the program a little bit. First preseason game, I'm not getting bent out of shape. You're not going to see me on this channel overreacting to anything. I'm not an overreactor. That's not how I roll. So it's good to see the running game working like it did. It was good to see chunk plays in the passing game. I was happy, a 39-yard catch, a 35-yard catch, 21-yard catch, 5 or 6 18-yard catches. This is good news. It's just they need to shore it up a little bit, especially in the red zone. Did you watch the game? Like, I'm not picking on you, Lakers, all day, but there was a lot of throws that weren't what you would call a spot throw, even though technically every single throw in the NFL kind of has to be a spot throw. If you're saying that they didn't throw up any 50-50 balls, no, they didn't throw up a 50-50 ball. Other than the typical 50-50 ball, every throw in the NFL is a spot throw. I think that play calling was suspect because they weren't calling plays for the best result every time. They were calling plays to get information on players, on specific performances in plays. So sometimes they were calling different things because that's what they wanted to see, what certain players were doing in those situations, rather than this is the best situational play to have to win the game. But I mean, take from it what you guys want. I'm not trying to argue with anybody's opinion, really. I'm just stating what I saw. And the main thing that I saw was a week 1 preseason game. I'm not going to freak out too much until I see more information. This was a good start. It was good to see these things unfolding a little bit. 3 touchdowns rushing, great. No touchdowns passing. That was a bummer. I would have liked to have seen 1 or 2 50-50 balls. Lakers all day. That would have been nice to see. I would have been happy to see that. Have Zach and Quinn and Tua each hook up on a 50-50 ball and see what happens. That would have been nice to see. Maybe we'll see that next week. Maybe. I am curious to see how we do against the Lions next week. That's going to be fun. I'm excited for the joint practice next week as well. It's going to be good to see. It was wonderful to watch some Miami Dolphins football on Sunday. Absolutely, I agree. And furthermore, it was good to watch a game where it wasn't just absolute crap. Even though it was preseason, we had some things to be excited about. We had some positivity, especially some positivity on the defensive side of the ball, which I'll get to in a minute. But the defense, and not just our starters, our backup defense, they looked really good. especially the front seven. The front seven was pretty good. We'll get to that in a second. But 24-24, it was a pretty close game. You know, I'm not too worried about anything. I would love it if Tua handed off 30 times. If the running game is working, I would never complain about that. Yeah, if the run game works, and if they're getting yards off of the handoff and they just keep handing it off, let's do it. And I know that Tua would be the first one to say, yeah, okay, if we're getting these chunks of yards running the ball, why would I want to change that? Let's go with what works. Chicago didn't have many of their starters, but after that first possession or two for offense and defense, we didn't either. That's the thing is I didn't put much stock into that first possession on offense or defense, but after that halfway through the first quarter, we were all into our second string players, third string. I wasn't disappointed with any of it, really. Like I said, there was a couple things I would have liked to have seen differently, but it really didn't look that bad. And that's why we can't get too positive or too down off of one preseason game. It's just not worth it. It was fun to watch. Yeah, the competent special teams this year. That was good to see. Like I said, I mentioned that first thing off the bat. I don't know if you saw it, Abel. I was like, man, special teams looked pretty good. They looked good. And that's not something we're used to as Dolphins fans. So that's a positive. And people who say that special teams doesn't matter, that's just crazy. Special teams, of course, matters. And we saw good examples of that today with field position. I think our average field position had to have been between the 35 and 45 yard line, and the Bears' start position was really, really close to their end zone. So, yeah, there was a couple bad calls. There was a couple bad calls for the Bears too. So I'm not going to pick on the refs too much. It is what it is. But I was happy with a lot here, and I would like to see a little bit better offensive line play, especially on the right side. That was a little suspect. They didn't do great on the offensive line today, but I will say that those first couple possessions, there was good protection on a lot of it. I'd say 90% of it was good pass pro. And that's good to see. We saw linemen actually getting out in front of a running back and making some blocks. That was good to see too. I did see Jonas Savaianaya actually drop a block. That wasn't cool. It was with a run play to Jalen Wright. No, it was Achane. It was a run play to Achane on the left side, and Savaianaya was out in front for a lead block, and he shirked the block, and that guy made the tackle. I can't remember who it was on the Bears that did it, but that disturbed me a little bit. That frustrated me. After that play, Savaianaya played great for the little bit that he was in there. Stonehouse definitely outpunted. Abel Stonehouse did better in my opinion. Bailey didn't do horrible, but I definitely think Stonehouse has the edge. The way this went for the Bears, I'd say most of the offense. Case Keenum had himself a good day. I can't even front. Case Keenum was good. 8 of 10, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rating of 139.6. How can you? That's perfect. That's good. Definitely can't be any worse than that. Tyson Bagent had 13 of 19 for 103 and 1 touchdown and 1 pick. That's right. The Dolphins actually got a pick. It was unreal. It's not something we're used to, right? So fumbles. Quinn Ewers had 2 fumbles lost. Lost 2 fumbles. Yeah, the game plan was very vanilla, and I think that Elwood. I think that the reason for that is obvious. I don't think that they wanted to give anything away with any of their more designer plays. I'm not saying trick plays. I'm saying designer plays. I don't think they wanted to run anything. I don't think they're. Let me rephrase this. I'll bet a Buffalo nickel on this. The Miami Dolphins will not run anything during preseason that they're planning on running in the regular season. It's just not going to happen. So these plays that we're seeing in preseason, this is all vanilla stuff. Some of these plays are going to have different blocking schemes. Some of these run plays are going to have different pulls, different players pulling different directions, different things happening to make it a little better. And we're not going to see that during preseason. So some of these plays are going to seem vanilla, and they're going to seem slow, and they're going to seem like it's just kind of missing a little pop. But we're not going to see exactly how these players are going to develop and run until we get to the regular season, until we see the Miami Dolphins go into Indianapolis and take on the Colts. So it was a little irritating watching the Bears broadcast. I got tired of seeing their sideline and not ours. Dude, yeah. I ended up watching that too from the Bears side, and it was lame. And that's what we get, we're watching an away game pretty much, and it sucks because they were definitely covering the Bears. You could definitely tell. But I will say that the media broadcast did a decent job of covering a little bit of the Dolphins stuff too. A lot of teams do a lot worse for the visiting team. So I was okay with it. It could have been would have been a lot nicer if we would have saw a Dolphins broadcast for sure. So on the defense, KJ Britt led the team, and Channing Tindall led with 6 tackles each. Channing Tindall was all over the field today. And like I said, I know he was playing against second stringers, but Channing Tindall took a step today. And like I said, I'll pick on him, and I'll give him crap when it's due. But today, Channing Tindall played well. 6 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, a pass defended, and 2 QB hits. That's a game. And he didn't even play every play. But Channing Tindall had himself a game today. So we need to give him credit for that. It's preseason, but I cannot remember a time when Channing Tindall had a stat line like that, ever. So it was good to see. Daquan Jackson, 5 tackles. Eugene Asante, 5 tackles. Storm Duck, 4 tackles. All of his tackles were solo. Storm Duck, it's my dog right there. Kenneth Grant, 4 tackles. Jack Jones, 3 tackles. Derek McClendon, 3 tackles. 1 sack. And 2 tackles for loss. 1 QB hit. That was a sack, obviously. McClendon did have that sack. Kendall Sheffield, 3 tackles. Willie Gay Jr., 3 tackles. 1 QB hit. And that was actually a half a sack. He split that with Big Boy. Oh, who was that? Benito Jones. He split that with Benito Jones. So they each had half a sack there. Ben Still had a sack. Ethan Bonner had a pass defended. Ben Still had a pass defended. JMJ had a pass defended. It wasn't a horrible defensive possession. There was 6 total QB hits against the Bears, and we had, I think, 3 sacks. Yeah, 3 sacks. 75 total tackles for the team. They played well. There are some players in here that I feel like did not do very well. Aside from the sack, Derek McClendon had himself a day of just trying to hang on. He did hang, like I said, he did hang on. Let's see. Zeke Biggers, he was in there on a bunch of plays. He didn't get much stats. He didn't get much ticks on the stat line, but Zeke Biggers was in on a lot of plays. And he's one of those. His job is more to change a running back's direction than to actually make a bunch of sacks and tackles. And that's exactly what Zeke Biggers did. Zeke Biggers was like a herd dog. Just kept herding the players to the places where they would eventually get tackled. It was kind of neat to see. It's good to see that our interior defensive line is doing what they're supposed to do, keeping players from getting by them. They were doing a good job all day. Grayson Murphy, I was impressed with him a lot. Another instance of just being everywhere on the field. Kind of like McClendon, he was just constantly grabbing hold and doing the best he could. You could see him fighting. Elwood, yeah, there you go. Goodbye, Mo. Yeah, was he even playing today? Because I didn't hear a thing about him. Did anybody see Mo Kamara today on the field? I thought he stayed back. Because he's not even on the stat line. Yeah, I don't know. Pat McMorris had himself a day. I was impressed with him. Ethan Bonner played well. Mike Hilton played well. I mean, these guys did their jobs. They didn't play a ton either. Mike Hilton, I think, only played a couple possessions. And after that, they let other players get in there. If he had a tackle, it was a good day. I'm not too disappointed with anything the defense did. My main concern of all of this, of everything, ladies and gentlemen, it's really one thing. They just got to clean it up. How many? Let me look at this real quick. We had a lot of penalties. I think it was 10 penalties or something. Let me look. Team stats. 10 penalties for 68 yards. That's what we had in this game. That's got to be cleaned up. Was it as bad as the 4 false starts and 2 holding calls that we had on the joint practice? No, it wasn't that bad. But as a team, as a whole, we had 10 penalties for 68 yards. That's unacceptable. That needs to be cleaned up. We have to see something better there. If that would have gotten cleaned up, the score would look a little different. But like I said, not the end of the world. It was still a decent game. It was good to see. We're looking at 272 total yards of offense for Miami. 101 of those were rushing. 2 turnovers, both of those were on Quinn Ewers, and those were both fumbles, not interceptions. Just kind of blah. 26 minutes, 50 seconds of possession time for Miami, 33 minutes and 10 seconds for Chicago. It's just kind of it was a pretty close, well played game against each other. But I'm not worried about the score. I'm not worried about the fact that we got a tie. I'd rather the tie happen in preseason than in the regular season. 16 first downs compared to the Bears 22. The Bears did have 4 first downs from penalties. That's what I was talking about. This game would be a lot different if the penalties were cleaned up from Miami. And 2 of those drives were touchdowns. 65 total plays for Miami, 66 for the Bears. 295 to 272 for the Bears for yards. 11 drives each team. Yards per play was almost identical at 4.5, 4.2. Like I said, this was a pretty well-contested game. The Bears threw that 1 interception. Dolphins didn't throw a pick. The Bears were sacked 3 times. Dolphins were sacked 6 times for 43 yards. Now, you can blame a little bit of that on our offensive line, on the second and third string, mainly the third stringers that were responsible for a lot of those sacks. But once again, those 6 sacks for 43 yards could also be attributed, a good portion of it, to our backup quarterbacks standing around with the ball way too long. Way too long. So if we're going to be picky, I'll put 50% of that blame on the offensive line and 50% on our quarterback, Zach Wilson, and Quinn Ewers not doing anything with the ball. Just not being aware in the pocket. And say what you want about Tua, he's got pretty good pocket awareness, and it becomes evident how important that is when you see Quinn Ewers and Zach Wilson in the pocket with the football. They don't have very good pocket awareness. Let's just leave it at that. They're going to have to grow it, because if they're going to end up playing, if Tua gets hurt, they're going to have to come in, and they cannot sit there and pat that ball 5 or 6 times looking around. They're going to have to do something and make it happen quick. So I'd say 50-50 on the linemen and 50% on the quarterbacks there. Responsibility for giving those sacks up and those 2 fumbles. One of which gave the Bears 2 yards to have to score a touchdown. That's it. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. That's where I'm at with that too. That roughing the passer call that we got called. I wasn't even mad when it happened. I was like, man, it was pretty quick, pretty bang bang, like you said there. And I'm not gonna blame our defense on that either. That's one of those things. I was happy with the aggressiveness on both sides of the ball today. I was happy to see players flying around and fighting. It was good to see. Things could have gone a little different. It would have been great in some ways, but I'm not going to be upset about what I saw today. There are some things, like I said, that I would like to see cleaned up and like to see improved. But this wasn't a bad game. And we saw a definite improvement over the joint practice, and that was what I was happy about. So defense looked good. A couple things to clean up there. Offense looked okay. I feel like the offense is going to take care of itself. By the way, if you guys are in here and you're listening to me yammer away about this game, please drop a like, throw a comment down. Let me know what you guys think about this. It's good to hear from you guys. All right. So let's see. What was the biggest? Yeah. Zach Wilson had that rating of 92.8, and I'm not going to pick that apart too much. I do wish that he would have not held on to the ball as much as he did for a couple of those plays, but other than that, he did okay. The 4 sacks was a killer for me with him. Yeah, that was what bugged me. Is 4 sacks for 24 yards. Just really poor pocket awareness from Zach Wilson. That was the main issue with him. As far as Quinn Ewers goes, he's just got to hang out of the ball. There's just no excuse for that. And Quinn Ewers will be the first one to say so. He'll say it. Yeah, I got to be better with the ball. I got to hang on to it. So we'll see how it ends up working out. Zach has been in the league and he should throw the ball away. Yeah, he's got to know when to do that for sure. Definitely. But can he? Will he? You know what I mean? That's the question. We gotta wait to see how that goes. I'll be listening for. Excuse me. I'll be listening for player. I'll be listening for player interviews and stuff and see what anybody else says about it. But looking at all this, I was not disappointed. Durham Smythe for the Bears was targeted once and was an incomplete pass. Just throwing that out there for those of you who remember Durham Smythe. 2 fumbles, 2 lost by Quinn Ewers. That was not good. And that hurt. And in a regular season game, that'll get you fired. So Quinn Ewers has got to straighten that crap up. He's got to learn to protect that ball a little better. Be a little more aware of his backside. One of those sack fumbles was just horrible. Running away from the pocket with the ball down at his waist and just holding onto it with one hand, and got it punched out when he got tackled from behind. Can't do that stuff. I was very happy with Akine. I was happy with Ollie Gordon. I liked the way Ollie Gordon played in this game. Ollie Gordon had 72 all-purpose yards in this game. He didn't play hardly half of it, so he looked good. I like the way he ran. I like the way he caught. He did a good job. This is going to be – I think that the offense is working the right direction. There's a lot more work that needs to happen. They need to keep plugging away in this preseason and keep working. We've got, I think, 2 practices this week coming up and a walkthrough, and then we got another game. And they need to focus on getting better. That's all there is to this. That's all preseason is about. Get better. If you get better, everything else takes care of itself. If you're trying to make a spot on the team, if you're trying to get a spot on the roster, and you keep worrying about getting better, guess what's going to happen? You're going to wind up on the team. Just got to keep working. Yep, and that the cleaning up the penalties, that falls on the head coach to make sure that doesn't continue to happen. So Mike McDaniel needs to focus on those penalties. He needs to get that cleaned up, whatever that takes. This is where he needs to show his maturity as a coach, and he's supposed to have grown and become better as a head coach. This is how he shows it. He gets these penalties cleaned up. He makes this stop. So too many penalties today. That was the one thing that just drove me nuts. I hated it. So need to see less penalties out of him. Need to see that improve. Mike McDaniel is supposed to be the one to take care of that. So, oh yeah, check it out. I got this. I forgot to show you guys. Got this new sweatshirt. Pretty happy about it. I like clothing, especially when it's nice and new and clean and whoa, it's all warm. It's 50 degrees here in North Pole today in Alaska. It's kind of chilly. So, who do you think will be our CBs? Well, I guess you're assuming you want to know what our top 3 cornerbacks will be. I think it's going to be Mike Hilton for the nickelback. It'll be Mike Hilton. And right now I'm thinking Storm Duck as our number 1 cornerback. And then you're going to look at kind of a rotation of a few players. I think we're going to see Ethan Bonner. I think we're going to see Jack Jones. I think it's going to be kind of a combination of a few players. Let me see here. Hang on one second. Sorry. I will tell you, I definitely think it's going to be Mike Hilton as our nickelback. It'll probably be Storm Duck, Jack Jones, Kendall Sheffield, or Ethan Bonner. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Those are the 4 that I'm looking at. Elwood. I think Storm Duck's definitely established himself as one of the top cornerbacks on the team. Be that good or bad, I like Storm Duck. I think he's doing a magnificent job, constantly getting better, working hard. I think it's going to be Storm Duck and probably Kendall Sheffield and Jack Jones, and backed up wholly by Ethan Bonner. So those four is what I'm looking at for right now. Kendall Sheffield is looking good, and he's doing better and better too. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, Jack Jones did decent today. Yeah, Storm Duck is doing great. I have been clamoring for Storm Duck since he came into the league last year, and constantly talking about how the man does nothing but get better. He's got a proper attitude. He's a fighter. Doesn't quit. He breaks hard on things. He makes good tackles. I've been very impressed with Storm Duck since he came into the league, and he's so much better this year than he was even last year. Just getting better and better. I think we would be foolish to not involve him heavily in our defense. He's earned it. He's done well. So we need to keep plugging him in and let him continue to grow. But I think Ryan Stonehouse actually did pretty much convince everybody today that he's much better than Jake Bailey. Hopefully we can get rid of Jake Bailey and make a little bit of extra space on the cap. That'll save us about $1.5 million or $2 million on our against the salary cap, so that'd be good. A little extra space to work with just in case. Also, I'd be looking for this next week. Look for the Dolphins to be active in free agency here. This is where we've seen a little bit of what we have, and this is where we're going to go out and pick somebody up. I don't know who. I'm not going to make a guess right this second, but I would not be shocked if we wake up tomorrow and find out that the Dolphins have signed some free agent. This is where it happens. As far as injuries go, I have not heard. I know that Alexander Mattison got hurt. Is the neck shoulder thing? So I'm assuming it's like a stinger that he got. That was from him lowering his whole body and just running people over near the goal line today. I think he's doing well. It says he's doing well, so I wouldn't be worried too much about it. He's listed as questionable. Jalen Waddle is technically listed as questionable as well. I would expect him to be kind of have some light duty this coming week. Might play a little bit in the preseason, but these are players we don't really need to see Jalen Waddle in the preseason. And if he's kind of questionable right now, it might not be worth playing him. Jalen Phillips didn't play. Tyreek Hill didn't play. Elijah Campbell did get hurt today. It was a right knee injury. I have no other information on that right now. We'll have to wait and see. I'll be keeping my eye on that. I do like Elijah Campbell, and I think he's going to be an important part of our safety room. So hopefully he's okay. Praying for all those players that did get these little boo-boos today, and hopefully they're all okay and ready to go for next week. I want Alexander Mattison and Ollie Gordon to continue to play during these preseason games. So hopefully Alexander Madison's shoulder and neck injury is nothing to really worry about, but not really much we can tell from right now. Like I said, it just happened today. So, yep, Ollie Gordon impressed me too today. Elwood was really happy with the way he ran the ball and caught, and just I like the way he blocked too. He did a good job today. Ollie Gordon could possibly be one of the game ball players for today, for this preseason game. He did great. I just want to see these players grow from this, and I want to see them build upon this game. It's a good starting point. It's a good place for them to build from, and I think that for a week one preseason game, this went pretty well. I was pretty impressed. So, lots of things to improve. Lots of things could have been better, but I mean, what do you guys think? Could it be? How do you feel right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Scale of 1 to 10. How do you guys feel after seeing this today? Where are you at? Me personally, I'm at a 7.5. I think that they're moving along nicely. I saw a lot of good things today. I definitely saw an improvement over the joint practice this week. So that's where I'm at. But where are you guys at? I don't really want to play any starters either. I think that when we started this game today and Tua walked out there on the field, I was like, oh my goodness, here we go. Please no. I didn't want Tua to play today. So yep, 7.5 is that's where I'm at. I'm encouraged. I'm pleased, but I also recognize the room for improvement from this game. But it's a good feeling. Like I said, this game ended and I didn't feel disappointed. I didn't feel shocked. I didn't feel worried. I recognize the need for improvement in certain areas, and I recognize the need for the coaches to shore some things up. But I think we're moving in the right direction. So right now, 7.5. Could always be worse. What else did we have today? The Giants beat Buffalo. That's interesting. Obviously not the end of the world, just preseason. Jackson Dart team for 81 yards. 12 and 19 for 154 yards, 8.1 yard average, 1 touchdown for Jackson Dart. Russell Wilson, 6 of 7 for 28 yards. What up? Oh, my goodness. Jackson Dart didn't look too bad. 3 carries for 24 yards as well. Oh, let's see. Mitch Trubisky had himself a decent game. 9 of 13 for 138 and 1 touchdown for the Bills. Mike White, here's the other. Now, guys, this is what I was getting at. Spence CB83, what's up, brother? Here's the other thing about that. We talked about Skylar Thompson and how he always seems to do really, really good in the preseason. And we've already had people talking about it. The other person in that realm of preseason excellence is Mike White. The man always does good in the preseason and then turns around and lays an egg in the regular season when he plays. Mike White for the Bills, 8 of 13, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 128.8 rating. You can't make this stuff up. I guarantee you, as soon as the regular season starts, if he ends up playing a game, it will not be like that. And people are going to be looking at this going, well, he was so bad for the Dolphins, and then sure enough, he leaves the Dolphins, and then he's good. It's not like that. These guys are well known for this. They're notorious for having good preseason. They're preseason Pro Bowlers. And then the regular season hits, and Skylar Thompson and Mike White, they do the same thing every year. So don't be too excited for that. Ty Johnson had a good game for the Bills. 3 carries, 26 yards. Not bad. No rushing touchdowns for Buffalo. Yeah. Not too bad. When Waller comes in, we got a chain-moving machine. I would venture to say that even with Pharaoh Brown at tight end, I think that we have the ability to do short yardage runs. You guys saw today with the chunk running that we were getting off of the run game, off the tackle, in between tackle. I mean, the run game looked good. We were getting yardage everywhere. Got stacked up a couple times in at goal line, but once again, a lot of those players that we picked up for goal line situations, we did not play. And that's what I was talking about, where it's not about result right now with some of these play calls. Right now, they're poking the bear in certain places, just no pun intended because we were playing the Bears. But they're just poking around trying to see what things look like with certain players. So don't look too much at result right now. Look at individual effort and look at how these players are doing personally. Because right now that's what's being evaluated, is who's going to end up making this team. And I'm shocked about the special teams. Our special teams look great today. And I don't mean good. They look great. I was impressed with the young players. They didn't play passively, and they showed physicality. Team looks hungry. I would agree. They did not look passive. That's for sure. And that was pleasant. I was happy to see that. I feel the same way. It's only preseason. Room for improvement. Yes, room for improvement for sure. Definitely room for improvement. Not a bad game. I keep forgetting. I had forgotten that a tie was even a possibility, really, in preseason until it happened, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. It's preseason. There's no overtime. It is what it is, I guess." But it would have been cool if, they should do something fun, like have a field goal contest, to see who wins these preseason games when it ends in a tie. Just something stupid, just for giggles. Have the field goal kickers come out and have them each kick 50, 55 yarders until one of them misses. Yeah, yeah, he's getting there. Like I said, I think I'm kind of the opinion that to get into football shape, you kind of have to play football. If you're in good shape already and in physical shape, you need to just get in there and start playing. But I can see where they don't want to start him off on a joint practice or in a preseason game without having in some regular practice. So hopefully this week they get him into some regular practices and get him going because I want to see what he can do. Is he going to be part of this offense or is he just going to be a decoy? That's my question at this point. Okay. Yeah, always room for improvement. Always could be better. Oh, what? I think this was last night. The Jets playing the Green Bay Packers, 30-10. Preseason game. Not too worried about anything. Um, Justin Fields went 3 of 4 for 42 yards. A 108.3 rating, not bad. Didn't play much. Looks like just one possession. Adrian Martinez, 11 of 16, 152, one touchdown, and a rating of 119.8. He did this last year, too, for the Jets. I don't know if you guys remember, but in preseason, Adrian Martinez was wrecking people, looking great. Another Skylar Thompson right there. 256 yards passing for the Jets in this game. Not bad. Justin Fields had the lone rushing touchdown of the game. If your leading rusher is your quarterback, there are problems. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. I don't care who you are, what team you are. Something is a failure, is failing. I'm not saying the Jets are a failure. Something is failing if your leading running back is your quarterback. You just can't rely on that. That's a risk. Even with Josh Allen, that's a risk. But most of the time, Josh Allen isn't the leading rusher on his team. He contributes, sure. It's Josh Allen. He's going to contribute with the rushing game. But he's hardly ever the leading rusher on the Bills. It's because they have a good run game. And Josh Allen supplements that with his escapability and his ability to run. So, Eskridge is a playmaker on special teams. Eskridge is a playmaker everywhere. I like D. Eskridge, and he seems different this year than he did last year. D. Eskridge seems like there's a whole new speed to him this year. A whole different attitude. I like it. I'm happy to see it. I like the fight. I like the argument. I like the disagreeability on these players' faces when they were playing the Bears today. They weren't messing around. Even the third and fourth stringers, they were actually working. It's pleasant to see a little bit of a different attitude on the field. A little more scrappiness. I was hoping there'd be a fight. I was really hoping for it. But it was I was impressed. I was happy with what I saw today. Definitely need to see some improvement, but could be way worse. But that's how our first Sunday of the season ends. Our first preseason game ends in a 24-24 tie. Miami Dolphins not being pushed over, not like they did in their joint practice this week. Not looking the same, looking better, playing well. That's how our Sunday ends. And next week we have a new week of practice. This is going to be Detroit Lions week. This is one of the perennial best teams in the league. And we'll see how the Dolphins stack up. Once again, we have to keep looking at player development. We have to keep looking at attitude on the team. That's what we should be focused on. I'm happy with what I saw. A lot of YouTubers might not agree, and they can disagree if they like. I told you I take an optimistic viewpoint. I have to remember that I'm a fan above anything else. I love the Dolphins. I want them to succeed, and I pull for that. I'll point out the things that need work like I did today. I'll lay it out, but at the end of the day, I am a Dolphins fan. I want our team to do well. It's Lions week, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Make sure you throw a like down on your way out of here. Leave a comment if you guys like. Make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I do multiple videos and live streams every week. And during the regular season, I do a preview for each game that we play. I do a recap of each game. I do at least 1 or 2 live streams every day, every week. And I do a live stream during the second half of every game during the regular season. So if you are sick of all the negativity and the vitriol, the hatred, all over Dolphins media, all over YouTube and Twitter, give me a follow, give me a subscription. I won't let you down. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let's get ready for Detroit. I cannot wait to see this next preseason game. This is where you're just waiting for the next game so you can see the improvement. I want the improvement to continue. That's what I'm hoping for. And I'm hoping that Ollie Gordon continues to run people over because it's great to see. So, fins up. Stay hopeful if you guys can. I know I will. And we'll talk to you guys next time.